Good afternoon, everyone, and I guess good evening if you're joining like Chris is from the UK. Chris, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. For those that I don't know, my name is Zach Posner. I'm a co-founder and a managing partner at the LegalTech Fund. We are thrilled to have Chris here from Lexverify, one of our portfolio companies that's doing fascinating stuff that we're excited to share a little bit more about, or at least I'm excited to hear his story again, and I hope you are. But Chris, if okay by you, like maybe before that we start going down the Lexverify path, and and a little bit deeper into legal tech in general. Um, can we start with a fun one? Like if you want to do a couple questions, just like focusing on you, and then we'll get into other stuff. But if you weren't working in legal tech, what industry do you think you'd be doing, or what else are you passionate about?
That's such a good question, Zach. I think I have to answer cybersecurity.
Okay.
I mean, with what's going on in the world right now, I don't think it's one of those that probably will not go away. And it's quite a fascinating field where keeping people safe online. Something that I think probably can get behind. And we do have we're developing a cybersecurity offering at Lexverify, so I think that will be a natural go-to.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of already do some of that stuff, and that wasn't
Not a massive pivot, no.
okay. Maybe any, if we go to you a little more personally, any surprising fact about you, or something that people wouldn't have, or I've known you for a couple of years, something I wouldn't have known about you, people would say, wow.
I think I mean, if you go on my LinkedIn profile, probably see that. But I used to run/co-run a coffee business while I was doing my PhD back in Sheffield, which was quite fascinating. I got to learn a lot more than I imagined about coffee and the different strands. And, basically going to conferences now, it's very easy to tell which one's good coffee and which one isn't. So that was really good. I'm not sure how many people know, but I did a PhD without a master's degree, which kind of back then was like, you can't do that. So that was quite interesting as an experience, because I basically went straight from a BA to a PhD. I had to catch up on everything social theory in the meantime.
And was that something you were thinking about doing as a career, or just more of a gig while you were in school?
You mean the coffee business?
Yeah.
Oh, more of something on the side, because I thought doing a PhD isn't enough really. I need something to keep me busy. So it was quite a fascinating thing, and it did keep me busy for the better part of a year.
Awesome. So I'm guessing you also travel, or you have traveled a little bit. But if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be? No restrictions.
Somewhere sunny. Like I've lived in the UK for more than a decade now. Somewhere sunny is definitely I wouldn't say anywhere sunny, but definitely somewhere sunny.
All right, maybe somewhere down here like Miami.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on down to visit. All right, to jump back, let's verify what you guys do. I think of this as I don't know the word Grammarly. I think about, or and I know that you want to make compliance and risk prevention almost as easy as spell check. Like, how did this come to be? What are you trying to solve? What are the big pain points? And yeah, maybe give us a little bit of background.
Sure. So yeah, making risk prevention as easy as spell checking is exactly our mission. But so the story is, I'm a social scientist by background, right? So I don't come from legal. I don't come from compliance. I am actually a bit of a generalist. So I've worked on quite a few things in kind of, people might say, my fairly short career in academia. But one of the things I ended up working on was actually AI at a time where AI wasn't really the hype that we see nowadays. So kind of pre the whole ChatGPT era and all of that. And I thought, what's the next big thing that will take over the world in the next, 20, 30, 50 years? And my prediction back then was, AI has got a pretty good chance. So I thought, right, I'm going to look into this. I started doing a bit of research work on that, traveling to places like Canada, looking at how on earth do you build a technology like AI? How do you then nurture it? How do you grow into an ecosystem and so on? So that was really fascinating. And then my colleagues and I got a few government grants in the UK to look at transformation, AI adoption in legal services and professional services more broadly. So for about 3 years, I did work with accountants and lawyers to get them to think about the whole transformation piece. And being a generalist and looking into human behavior and incentive structures across different contexts, I had my classic eureka moment. And I thought, there's if you look at compliance, there's so many things that are still being done in a very traditional way. we've now got AI that's capable to truly transform the way we do things. And we keep seeing compliance failures left and right. I mean, one of the first things I looked at was things like, cyberbullying and nasty things that people say to each other and all of that. And then I thought, hang on a second, it's not just that. When you look at things like antitrust, competition law, anti-bribery, financial sanctions, there's a whole host of compliance issues. And guess what? Because of the way we work nowadays, the likelihood of one of those breaches originating or leaving a trail on electronic communications has just increased massively. And so the seed for my idea was, literally the first thought I had was, why don't we just tell people they're about to make a mistake before they should go on and do it? And still being a social scientist and researcher, I looked at the research behind this, and there's research that supports that if you actually warn people in advance, the vast majority of them will actually stop and think, and they will at least consider whether they want to go ahead with it. And the majority of them actually not go ahead with it because no one wants to harm themselves or other people or the company they're working. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm just curious how the role that AI and maybe some of these more recent, some of these LLMs have kind of played more recently, because like this was right around the inception of the like this is you've been around for a couple of years, but you haven't been around for a long time. And I'm just curious, like how much you've seen a change and how much the change is kind of accelerating your product and your work. And we should go a little bit more into what your product is as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, everyone's going to ask, what about, ChatGPT? What about this? What about Gemini and all of that? And there's a distinction to be made. And actually, we've recently published an article on our website which distinguishes between Gen AI and other types of AI. The kind of AI we developed is known, I think, simply as classification AI. So you label things. So we're looking to put a label in a very short amount of time, actually in real time, on text in this situation, as opposed to generating text based on a prompt, which means it is also a lot faster. So the advent of technologies like ChatGPT, like other generative AI technologies, it's actually looking to complement what we're doing, and we're already thinking about integrating some of these within our products. But it's not a replacement. If that's if some people are thinking, oh, Gen AI can actually do this. I think personally, and collectively as a team, we think that Gen AI and ChatGPT can do a lot of things. Things like Copilot, for example, can assist with productivity and all those things. But if you want certain use cases like speed, accuracy, and telling you whether you should go ahead with something, like in the case of electronic communications, which is what we're doing, you do need to use other forms of AI that are a bit faster, more efficient, not just in terms of resource consumption, but also performance.
Yeah, maybe if you don't mind giving just a 2-minute overview of your actual product, like what it is that, like what you're taking to market, how you interact with customers, an example of, what an end user may interact with and see and how you can help them.
Yeah, sure. So it's an AI-powered assistant that sits in Outlook and Teams and helps prevent legal, compliance, and increasingly cyber risks on electronic communications. So, when you type something in an email, if you misspell something, Outlook or whatever provider you're using will tell you how you misspelled this, and you click on it and you kind of move on. It's easy to fix. We do the same thing, but for risk and compliance. And the whole point here is, we've been spell checking for a while, and I don't think any of us are as adventurous to turn it off. Apparently, you can turn off spell checking, but not everyone has done it. In a few years' time, we'll think, how on earth we ever sent an email or a message without compliance training. So we do that in real time. So we scan the emails in real time as you're typing and can flag potential risk and compliance issues before you even hit the send button. We look at areas like antitrust or competition laws now in the UK, anti-bribery and corruption, financial sanctions, GDPR/data protection, employee well-being, and so on. So we cover, if you're on the areas where we've seen either the biggest fines, biggest reputational damage, or a combination of those.
And I guess the theory, it's a never-ending list. You can keep adding to it. It's just a technology. You're providing a technology.
This is the beauty of it, right? We refer to it as a capability that can be leveraged across multiple use cases and risk scenarios. Yeah, and we already have a roadmap for additional ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost saying like right now you think of a lot of this stuff in the world of being reactive opposed to. I mean, it's almost like you're adding like before you hit send on something, you're helping people be proactive and making sure there's no problems in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see this not necessarily being part of the problem, but there is technology out there. There's some of the largest companies have got things like monitoring and surveillance systems. They're doing a pretty good job in terms of their own policies and the training they're doing. But with all that in place, we still see those massive scandals. We still see those corporates being fined. We see those breaches left and right, whether it's antitrust, whether it's bribery allegations. I mean, there's the cases just keep flowing. If you look at the media, we've done that. We do this on a continuous basis. We still see those failures, and when you look at nowadays, there's always, almost in 10 out of 10 cases, an email or a message, or both of them, or a document that's caused that issue or has left a trail. Which can also shows that whatever is in place right now is insufficient. So I'm looking to complement all of that and to add to the compliance stack of a company.
And what excuse me, what have you learned about the market, about the process, about the this approach feels a little bit different than other tools and products in the space. Like, any learning so far?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think when you're a pioneering product, where you're on kind of the first mover and doing something that's not been done before, there's quite a bit of education you got to do. So it's not going to be a straight line of, I'm going to start today, and in 1 year's time, I'm going to have a product and customers and everything that an entrepreneur dreams about. There's quite a bit of education to be done, to say to the market, there's now state of the art, and here's a real case and so on. And part of it is cutting through the noise as well. I mean, everything's AI nowadays, right? You can't look left or right. Every single product's got an AI label on it. So to stand out from the crowd as well, to actually say to the market, we actually we solve a real problem first and foremost, and then we actually use real AI. It's not a ChatGPT wrap where your data isn't going to a third-party API. We don't abuse it. We're actually, we're the good guys doing all the right things. It's there's a bit of convincing to do there, and so you need to prepare quite a bit of materials in the background, which is what we've done. We've got our own FAQs and things that we share with people, customers, and so on. It's quite fascinating because it is a lot more hard work. When you go into a market where things are established and you go, oh, I'm incrementally improving this bit. Well, there's already a market of buyers, but we're trying to create a new market here.
So education, I'm curious if you have other learnings you would think to share with other legal tech founders that may be listening today.
Are you referring in terms of practical lessons or kind of more general, kind of business startup type lessons?
All the above.
All the above, right. I think one of them is it always takes longer than you think.
Yeah.
As I said, we as founders are always optimistic, and we think, again, we have our own time and our own minds, and things could be happening faster. But the reality is, again, depending on what you're building, things will take time, especially if you're R&D intensive. You can't predict the outcome of those processes. In some cases you succeed, in others you have to do more trial and error. So it always takes a bit longer to either launch a product, go to market, build that feature. And I think patience is really key here, and kind of balancing the kind of sales going to market and building the product is really important. But
good.
Something I would also say on the flip side, because I don't think you're a founder if you don't learn that. It's also important to be kind to yourself, and I don't think a lot of people say that. Because everyone talks about financial runway, but there's also emotional runway. Yeah. It's not my own invention, but I can't remember where I heard this. But you've also got to realize that if you're taking that next round of investment, you've got to go for another 2 to 3 year cycle, and keep pushing and accelerate growth and all of that. So if you don't take care of yourself in the process, not kind to yourself, and look at your own well-being, then it's going to serve no one any good.
Wow, I no, that's you don't hear that often, but that is so true as a former founder and as somebody that invests in these companies. I couldn't agree more. I want to end it back there, but I want to actually move forward and go back a little bit higher level, because we got this. I took us down the other path where usually we end, but if I go back to Lexverify for a second. So paint a picture, like next couple of years, like the vision kind of comes to fruition. Like what does the world look like? What does your product offering look like?
That's a very good question. So we are starting to see the patterns across different verticals we're selling to. So financial services companies will be interested in a specific package and combination of risk modules. Pharma will be interested in another, professional services another, and so on. So we're getting a lot more clarity around where the demand is and what Lexverify looks like across different sectors. So that will be crystallized by then. But also becoming the leading provider in the space, I think it's fair to say. We're not alone in the space, which is really good to see. But it's still an early market, and we want to be the ones leading it, globally, but certainly across UK and Europe. To our knowledge, we are the only ones doing pioneering risk compliance solutions at this level, looking at e-coms in UK and Europe. So And I think maybe 2 years is probably a short time frame, but I think again, my view is 5 to 10 years time, we'll look back and think, how on earth did we ever send anything without real-time compliance checking? Because it's just so easy. It will seem natural. So when we all imagine a kind of future of work narrative and what the world will look like and so on, it's not going to take too long until we're going to realize that we've had all this capability at our fingertips for a while.
Well, it really is that spell check comparison really is a fascinating one. Just saying, I couldn't imagine working without spell check right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of it, right? We're not fundamentally changing what people are doing. If you look at human behavior, user behavior, we've all been spell checking for decades now. It's ingrained in what we do. So as long as you can plug yourself in those patterns of behavior, because behavioral change is one of the trickiest things that you can look at, and try and change the way people do things, and you most surely fail. It's why kind of most technology transformation projects, digital projects fail, because they're trying to change the ways of doing things, that norms, patterns, behaviors, and so on. We're trying to plug ourselves into that space of, we're not going to change what you do, we're just going to change the outcome of what you're going to see as a result of that.
Okay. So if there are people listening today, and/or my guess is a lot more will be listening in the future, is what we've seen. Any asks from the audience?
Well, if you're a lawyer or an in-house, in-house legal teams or risk and compliance teams, do get in touch with us. We would love to have a chat with you and understand how we could support you. If you're an investor, we're fundraising, so please do drop us a line. We'd love to have a chat with you. Or even if you'd like to just find out more about what we're doing, we're always happy to have a chat.
And how do people find you?
Drop me a line, hello at Lexverify, or reach out on LinkedIn. My DMs are always open.
Perfect. Well, I thank you for spending a few minutes with us today, and congrats on all the traction today. And couldn't be more excited about watching you guys and bringing you guys on in the future.
Thanks very much for having me, Zach. Appreciate it. Thank you.